Hello everyone, I'm Grandmaster Justin Ichikawa from the Teal Wesley Karate Studio, and here's today's Martial Arts Monday tip. Hello everyone, this week we're going to talk about sword tossing, and the toss that I showed last time was just like your generic toss one hand to the other. This variation of a toss has something to do with this, the hand-to-hand toss that we're doing. We call it a tick-tock. It's called a tick-tock because we're actually going to be tossing the sword up into the air, and right when it hits into the hand you're about to catch it with, we're going to hit it kind of like almost like an upward flick with our fingers, and it's going to go back the way it came from, or we're going to catch it. So basically the way it starts is once you've been practicing this toss one hand to the next and we get the idea of it, in the middle of that toss, when the sword is coming all the way around and it's just about to come into your hand, you're going to open up your palm and just a little bit of like a flick of the forefingers. I'm going to flick the sword just as it hits into my hand. So the moment it touches, I'm going to flick it up. It's going to go back the way it came from, and then I'm going to catch into the other hand. One thing you want to make sure that you don't do when this happens is catch it and then re-fling it back in the air. The timing has to be as soon as this handle hits my fingers, it has to immediately flick right back up. A good way to practice is to probably end up tossing it in your hand, catching it, and then throwing it back the way it came from into the other hand, because that's what's going to be happening. So I would practice by tossing it up into the left hand, throw it from the left hand inverted to my left, and then back into my palm. So when I do this toss, it's going to look something like this. I'm going to toss all the way up, flick, and it's going to come back into my hand. Okay, so one more time, I toss up, flick, and it should come right back into my right hand. So when I leave it from my right hand, when it releases into my hand, my left hand will hit it, which is the opposite hand. It'll land back into my right hand. Okay, so we have our regular toss into our left hand, and then we have the tick-tock, which is from our right to our left, flicking right back into our right hand, just like that. So the next sword trick we're going to do is a trick where you would take the sword from a cut, we're going to toss it down to our foot, and we're going to use our foot to kick it back up. The idea of this is to kind of be able to possibly do a cut, release it from our hands, use our hands to do different strikes, and then kick it back up. And it's going to actually do like a 360 rotation back into your hand. So to practice this particular trick, what you're going to try to do is first learn how to let go of the sword and have it land on your foot in a graceful way. The worst thing that could happen is if you let go of the sword and you don't time it, and your foot ends up hitting the sword, or the sword ends up hitting your foot, and it doesn't feel very good. So one thing to do is you want to try and work on bringing your leg up, and what I like to do is I'll release the sword from like a low distance here, and I'll have it drop with me. Okay? So when I do this, I have the sword on the top of my foot, I'll leave it on the top of my foot, and I'll lower it down to the ground. Okay? So once I get the idea of that, I want to practice tossing it from a little bit farther away. So I'll try, instead of maybe like, let's say a foot from my foot, I will leave it for 2 feet from my foot. So I'll leave it from here, and what I want to try to do is I want to try and bring them both down at the same time. So when I have the sword, I'm going to leave it here, and I'm going to let go of the sword, my foot's going to follow it all the way down to the ground. Okay? So I'm going to be here, my foot comes up, and it follows it down, so it comes down gracefully. Okay? So the idea of this trick, once you have mastered being able to bring the sword up and have it come down gracefully with the sword, now what I'm going to try to do is that when I bring it back up, I'm actually going to use the inside of my knee, where the foot or the sword is caught on the foot. I'm going to use that knee to kind of turn it inward. And what that's going to do is it's going to cause the sword to flip around in a circle and be able to catch it. Okay, so one thing you do to practice is probably just bring the sword towards you. So I'm going to bring the sword towards me and I'm catching it on my foot, and then I'll just pop it back up by lifting my leg up into my hand. So I'll get good at that. So I'll let it go onto my foot and I'll bring it back up to catch it. That's also a cool way, it's a basic way to be able to do it. So if I do a cut down and I bring it in, I catch it on my foot, let's say I do a strike and then I come back up and I can catch it and then come back down. So the more advanced way is to be able to catch it, hit it with the inside of the knee, and have the sword rotate around and you catch it again. Okay, so what I'm trying to do again, the inside of my knee here is going to hit the top of the sword. What that's going to do is going to hit the sword and cause it to rotate. Okay, so one way you could probably start is just start with it on the top of your foot. I like to have the sword, the tip of the sword kind of pointed, angled towards me a little bit. That helps by getting in line with the knee, so I'm able to hit it and flick it up with my foot. So as I bring it down, I'm bringing the sword down, so it's almost like at a 45-degree angle on my foot. And I'm going to lift my foot up, and as I do that, I'm going to turn my knee inward, so it ends up flicking the sword around. So I hit my knee inward, and the sword comes up. Okay, so again, I bring it down on my foot, I'm kicking it inward. I actually can feel the inside of my knee hitting the top of the sword. So when I'm in here, it's hitting the top of the sword as I come around back down. Thank you so much for watching this Monday martial arts tip. Please tune in every Monday on our website at towestsidekarate.com in our blog section. We'll be posting videos every Monday, so make sure you tune in. If you have any comments or concerns or questions about any video that I've shown, I'll leave a link below to send a direct text to me. Also, if you have anything that you want to see, you could also send that text to me also. If you want to see some weapon work, some sparring drills, some kicks or block or hand techniques, I'll be more than happy to show that to you. You could also follow this link below to follow us at Facebook and also to follow us on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next Monday. Tong Su!